Hello, Nikki with Beanie Boat here. Today I'm going to do a provisional cast on using a crochet hook, and then I'm also going to show you how to pick your knitting back up off of that provisional cast on onto a working needle. This is used for joining two pieces of knitted fabric together. I'm putting this video together because I've got a pattern coming up for release that involves the joining of two ends of a tube together. So therefore we've cast on with a provisional cast on, so we've got those live stitches to use for the Kitchener stitch. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to do this for the purpose of this video. I'm just going to do this onto double pointed needles. Obviously you may be working on circulars, you may be working on a full set of DPNs, just for whatever, just for the ease of this I'm going to go ahead and do it onto double pointed. You want to make sure that your scrap yarn is a completely different colour to your working yarn. You really need to be able to see that when you go to pick your stitches back up off that provisional cast on. So my scrap yarn is white, and then I've got this lovely mustard colour for my working yarn. Make sure that your crochet hook is a similar size to your needle. It doesn't have to be exact, but you don't want it to be too small or too large. It will affect the size of your stitches going on and make it a little bit more either too tight, or it will make it really awkward. So what you're going to do is you've got your scrap yarn. Make sure your scrap yarn is enough for the stitches you need to cast on. I'm just going to go do about 10 for this. But obviously you want to make sure you've got enough if you're doing more than 10 stitches. So slip knot in the yarn, pop it on your crochet hook and pull it snug. Not tight, just pull it snug. Do a couple of chains. Now I'm going to assume that you know how to do crochet to this level. It's not that difficult though. So just pull a chain through, chain through, chain through. So just a few chains just to kind of secure that end. Leave your hook in that last chain. Take your needle and lay it across the top. I'm trying to make sure I'm in shot here. Lay it across the top of the working yarn, or of your scrap working yarn that's coming out to this side. Lay it across the top of that. And I usually hold it with my middle finger behind just to kind of secure it so it doesn't go anywhere. Oh, sorry, all fingers and thumbs today. Just go ahead and hold it with your hook over the top of your needle. Grab that yarn and pull it through the loop, the chain that's on your hook. Take your yarn and take it to the back of the needle. And there you go, you've got one stitch on there. It's that easy. So hook over the top of the needle, grab yarn, pull it through, yarn to the back. Hook over the top, grab the yarn, pull it through, yarn to the back. Hook over the top, grab the yarn, pull it through, yarn to the back. You just keep doing that for as many stitches as you need. Pull it through, yarn to the back. Over the top, pull it through, yarn to the back. And just keep doing that. Be kind of aware of your tension. You don't want it to be too tight to where you're struggling to push the stitches down the needle. I used to have a tendency to pull them quite tight. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. So I've got 10 stitches on there. Yarn to the back again. And what you're going to do now is just do some chains on that loop. So same as you did at the beginning, just a few chains. And then pull it nice and loose there, take your hook out. There you go, you've got your 10 stitches. Well, for me, 10 stitches, however many you have. Some people say put a knot in this end, so you know which is the end that you need to pull loose when you're taking it back up off the needle. It's not really necessary. As long as you've got a nice big enough hook loop there and you did a few chains here, nothing's going to come undone. You're good, you're okay. So what I'm going to do is now show you how to go ahead and start knitting. It's really no different than your normal knitting though. It's almost just, it seems silly to even show, but just start knitting. So into that first loop, and there you go. Just make sure you are knitting your live stitches now with your actual working yarn that you want to be using. Don't accidentally start knitting with the tail of your scrap yarn. You'll be quite annoyed at yourself when you realise you've done that. So I'm just going to do a few rows here just so I can then show you how to pick up back off of that. So while I'm doing this, you go ahead and finish your stitches you're casting on. I will actually see if I can fast forward this bit up though, so you've not got to sit and be bored watching me knit these. Got a bit of a tangle here at the end. Okay. Right, so what I'm going to do now is show you how we take this edge here and put these stitches back onto a needle so we can then do whatever it is we need to do. So I want you to imagine that this is a really long piece of knitting here, and I want to put these onto another needle for whatever my reason is, so whether it's because I'm Kitchener stitching it to another piece of knitting or whatever it is I'm doing. So just imagine this long piece. So if you look at the back, you can see the bumps. You can see your working yarn and the bumps. But if you count those, now if you remember we cast on 10 or however many you cast on, but if you go along and count now how many bumps you've got, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, there's only 9 full bumps, and then there's the tail end. You've not done anything wrong. That's exactly what's going to happen because you're picking up essentially now from the bottom. This is the left leg, or I don't know if leg's the right word, of that first stitch. So it would have gone like that. So what you're going to do to make sure you've still got 10 stitches, it's a bit of a workaround. Some people might do it differently. Put your crochet hook in there. So do you see how that is that? Put your hook in there, grab that tail and just pull it through. It's going to make a false stitch, and it will hide once you've got all your work grafted together. So now you go back along, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I've now got 10 bumps, and that's exactly what I need to have. There might be a different way, a better way, but that's just the way that I've always done it, is just create that false stitch there so I've got the same number. You do want to make sure you're picking up the correct number of stitches here, otherwise when you go to Kitchener to your other working end, you're going to have the wrong number. You need to have an even number for Kitchener stitch, even as an equal rather. Right, so how we're going to pick this up off of here. Remember that end that I told you some people put the knot in? That I don't worry about because, like I said, I know which is the end I need to start at because that's the end I just had to pull that yarn through on. You don't want to start from this end. You definitely want to start from the end with all the yarn hanging off of. So what you're going to do, you can do this one of two ways. You can go ahead and pull this working yarn out now, and then you'll just have the bump sitting here. I don't like doing it that way because you run the risk of one of those stitches just unraveling all the way down your knitting. So I actually go ahead and pick my stitches up while the provisional yarn is still there, and then I'll pull it out. So I'll show you how we do that. So what you're going to do, that false stitch you just created, put your needle through that first leg of it. So that leg we created, just push your needle through there and then go on to the next one. Now I usually take my finger here and just kind of push up behind just so I can see what's going on. So your next bump, you want the front leg of that. See? And push it through. And the next one, grab that leg, push it through. Next one, grab the front leg, push needle through. grab your front leg, push your needle through. Grab your front leg and just do that all the way along. And this works whether you're using straight needles or circular needles. With circular needles, you might want to do it in 2 halves, kind of use a magic loop type theory. Push it through. So I've come to the end. So I'm just going to double check how many I've now got on here before I pull that provisional waste yarn out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I've got my 10 stitches. And then now for the fun bit. That end piece there, where you pulled that big loop through at the beginning, grab the tail of that, and gently pull it. And when you get to this first one, what you need to do is just pull that out there from where we created that false stitch. And then, you ready? Just keep pulling it gently. I always pull it gently just in case I've missed a leg. And there you go. Oh, just go ahead and slide that out. And there you go. And that will make perfect sense when you're doing on a much larger piece of knitting. Okay, and we're done.